My philosophy is happy support means happy customers. The overall work ethic that I see on our team is just outstanding. I'm really proud of the team. The meaty part about making everybody happy is just hearing the people and making sure that you can find the balance between the business needs and the employee needs. I rarely do things randomly. Like, everything has its purpose, and by the end of the day, if I feel like I'm moving closer to my goals, then I think that's the satisfaction process.
Hi, Oleg.
Hello.
And welcome. Welcome to our Leaders Join the Chat interview series, where we talk to Manychat leaders about the team, about Manychat culture, their leadership principles, and there's some personal insights. So thank you for coming here. I'm excited to be talking to you today. And let's start with a short intro of who you are, what's your current role in Manychat.
Well, thanks for having me. My name is Oleg. I'm leading the CX organization here at Manychat. CX stands for Customer Experience, and I've joined back in May 2023. But it was actually my second coming to the company, because my first initial experience working with Manychat was like, it started back in 2019, but in advisor, as an advisor capacity. So I was working with the previous head of support for about 8 months, and this was actually one of kind of like selling points for me to join the company, because I already knew Mike, I knew Dima, I knew other leaders, and understood the culture. So it was sort of like an easy choice once we sort of like both were ready for the opportunity.
It's amazing. So you're not like only in the company for more than 2 years, or you're actually kind of like
I was sort of
years.
like looking from behind.
Yeah, well, that means that you knew at least a little bit the company years before, and now that you're like officially part of the team for more than 2 years, how in your perspective the company changed over this time?
I would say it just became more mature in general. More people, more complexity, more processes, but also more structure, more clarity, and I would say more intensity, because I think probably closer to November, December, this was the time when I really started to sort of like feel the heat. And things started to take off in terms of like the revenue growth, the accounts growth, and all of this stuff. And yeah, since then it was just kind of like the exact hyper growth experience I was looking for.
Faster, bigger,
Yeah, exactly.
and more challenging. Your team grew, I guess, 3 times
From
since you joined.
2023, I believe, to 75 till lately.
Yeah, so wow, that's impressive. Was it your goal when you joined the company? Like, did you know that you will have to grow your team that big? Okay, you didn't know. Tell us about this
Well,
experience.
It wasn't sort of like my design. I didn't come to like, hey, I want to build an empire or anything of this nature. It was more like, first of all, I needed to actually have enough people, like just enough staffing, because we were understaffed back in the day. But then, as I mentioned, the business started to grow, and we also needed to accommodate for the growth, because more accounts means more customers, more problems, more support tickets. And this is the way how we just scale the team according to the business growth. So as my ex-manager used to say, this is sort of like a luxury problem to have. Because this is fun time. You just, finding some new talent, new people. And yeah, it feels like so far it worked out, because I think the most intense year was 2024. We've hired 40 people over a year. So it was just, constant interviewing and so forth. And I was participating in all the interviews. I didn't skip any hire. And yeah, this year we extended the headcount only for like 10 people. So these days we're more modest. We already built enough like bandwidth, and now it's more about like the strategic growth and just more modest projections further down the line.
I see. So you took part in like 40 interviews while
It's not 40
growing the-
interviews. It's
Oh,
40
it was
hiring.
way
It-
more, way
like,
more. Yes, I don't know the
multiply
funnel,
it
but
by probably 5 to 10 in terms of the number of the interviews, because I was like present in lots of the hiring stages. So yeah, it was like I used to say like a lot of people were asking me like, hey, how do you nail hiring? Like, how do you hire so many people and they stick with you and so forth? Like I said, like I'm the #1 recruiter on my team. I built out the recruitment process when we didn't have anything, all these, I don't know, test assignments, coach the team to do the same, and basically absorb all the workload, because it's very critical to find the people who would be culturally aligned with you, especially in the very beginning when the team is growing so fast. So yeah, but it's sort of like one of my main strengths and one of the key skills that I brought with me from my previous experience, because I was honing this hiring experience, I think, since 2016. This was the moment when, on the one hand, I was aware in terms of like whom I want to hire, but then since 2016, it was like all trials and errors and like, I don't know, reading and talking to people in terms of like, hey, like what does it mean to do not only the most efficient hiring, but also the hiring that, you know, makes sense for the company. Because my goal is to sort of like create the talent factor when people who, let's say, started just solving support tickets, 7 years later, maybe they are like product managers, or they're like in engineering or marketing or whatever. And eventually, imagine Manychat is like 1,000 employees and they have connections everywhere. So these kind of like interconnections, it also helps a lot on the further stages of the growth. So yeah, that's why I'm really like, I'm very picky in terms of like whom we want to hire and how we can develop them so they stick for us for like as long as possible.
so speaking of hiring, what are like the main things that you look at when you are interviewing people? How do you approach like this hiring, and what skills help you to like assess the best way possible?
So answering the first question, I would name 3 things. First is enormous empathy. I'm looking for the people who can't live without helping others. Literally, like, I really believe that maybe like 10% of the population are talented to do this kind of job. Like, a lot of people unfortunately go to the support because it's just like an easy start, it's very easy threshold to get into, but they don't love doing that. Maybe they're like good in like sales, marketing, or any other roles, but they're not suited for support specifically. And I believe that because of this misconception, and also not that much attention to the support teams in terms of like the aspirations for this function. A lot of people think about this as more like cost center rather than, I don't know, value add function. And so, and that's why a lot of people just hire random people, unfortunately. And like there is like constant like flow of the people. So the regular attrition rate for the support teams can be like all up to 30%. So it's always hiring somebody else. It doesn't make sense to me. I want to hire people who really can't live without helping out somebody else. And so the first one is enormous empathy. The second thing is the so-called problem-solving mindset. It's all about how many ideas you can generate for a given case in terms of the solutions in a minute. Like, for instance, imagine like in the context of the Manychat automations, like imagine you have some like problem, and like, does this happen only in one account, in one channel? Is it happening only in one automation, only with one condition, and this kind of stuff? So you're basically trying to filter this out to figure out like, hey, what is the root cause of the issue? So we definitely need to find the people who would be sort of like balanced out, where on the one hand they will be very empathetic, but also on the other hand they will be very efficient in terms of like, hey, imagine like wearing the head of the Sherlock Holmes and figuring out like, hey, what is the root cause? Yes, exactly. And the third thing is the rule that we call "Don't be a jerk." I stole it from Netflix. I think it sounds wonderful, but yeah, if you're eventually are amazing in terms of like solving the problems, being empathetic to customers, but you act like a jerk towards your colleagues, it's not going to work.
Do you participate now in the interviews or?
So actually, my team challenged me recently in terms of delegating this completely. So we agreed to make it happen for the agent roles. I trust them. I was like actually thinking, and this is about like my own evolution, because again, I joined here with the premise to completely rearrange the support function. Because like when I joined, we had no operations team. We needed to switch to completely different ticketing system. We need to build out the processes, the KPIs, the data, a lot of stuff, a lot of like 0 to 1 building, and team-wise included. And so, as I said, I was honing my interviewing skills for like, I don't know, 7, 8 years before that. And I was really like nailing it. But then the situation has changed, and now I'm in luxury position where, like, let's say if I go somewhere on a remote island for half of the year, I know that everything was going to be perfect. Yeah, nothing breaks. And so when my team challenged me on this approach, I was also trying to reflect, like, hey, like, do I really trust my team to like completely like take it off? And yeah, eventually I was like, again, if I would be on this remote island, I would say like, okay, I have several people who are really like, who are in the trenches with me, who I trust like for 100%. And yeah. And as for some other roles, this is actually something that I was thinking of recently, whether I need to be somewhere maybe like on the later exec kind of like stage interviews or something else, but this is TBD. We still need to discuss it with the team.
So you already mentioned that within your organization there are customer support agents, there's operations. Can you walk us through the whole like structure? What sub-teams do you have?
If we take a look at like the biggest pieces, then I would frame it in the following way. So everything that is one-to-many experience for our users, that is before the support ticket creation, we call it scaled customer experience. So it consists of community, help center, and also a lot of other explorations in terms of how we can do this one-to-many digital customer experience. And then we have the support team. The support team is structured, and this is obviously like the biggest part of the team because it was present for like a very long time. And the support team structured in terms of different roles within. So we do have several lines, and we're right now considering whether we can perform it. We do have the so-called technical support agents, apart from just the regular ones. They're like the most knowledgeable and they're closest to the engineering in terms of our collaboration. Then we obviously have the team leads and also the second line managers who are running the different regions. So we have the team in Armenia, we have the team in Honduras, we have a team in Brazil, and yeah, right now it's like overall from like 75 people, probably like 60-ish employees are in support specifically, including the people managers. And then the last piece would be the operations, and we call them support for support. Basically, they're serving scale techs and support teams in terms of the processes, tools, automation, data, enablement, training, learning and development, and this kind of stuff. So yeah, that would be probably it. And yeah, we are, because of our scattered nature, we are operating in a remote first format. People in Armenia, they go to the office once a week because they have this close proximity. In Brazil, it's completely different because not everyone lives in São Paulo. We have people in the north, on the south, so we get them together once a quarter. And the same goes with the Honduras team. And we also have a few remote employees like myself in Portugal. We have people in Hungary, Finland, Poland, a few people in the Netherlands. So we're like all around, but once we have a chance, we definitely love to meet in person.
Yeah. So since you mentioned remote work format that your organization has, which is different from most of the teams in
Yeah.
Manychat, where we have the hybrid, but you're still aligned with the culture and values and everything. So how do you support this culture within the remote team? Any rituals, any life hacks?
Well, in my opinion, it's not about the rituals, because if you think about the values should act as a tool. Basically, like the way how I perceive the values is more like, how do you make decisions in the situation of high ambiguity, which is very much present in the world of startups or like hyper growth companies like us. And basically, like, I believe that I chose the company because I embody these values, and when I choose the people, I choose the people who are sharing these values as well. And again, we are thinking through these values very thoroughly during the hiring process. So the number one stage for me to make sure that everything works fine is actually just hire the right people. If you hire the right people, imagine if you, even if, I don't know, you have 95% of kind of like correct hiring that is according to the values, then you really have like a very good foundation in terms of how people would think, how people would act, how they will make decisions, whether they need to do the refund here and there, or like how they should collaborate and this kind of stuff. And then once we landed people on the team, then it's all about the people management practice. And again, I'm really big believer in servant leadership, in the way how we can make sure that actually people feel so comfortable that they would think about their work as an art. So like I always say that happy support means happy customers. Like imagine like if you are not happy, how you will make happy your customers? It's not possible. So we are really like treating a lot of our initiatives in this kind of regard. Even like if you take a look at our OKRs, and we have different objectives, we have leading indicators such as the customer satisfaction rating, the ones that are going to be surveyed once the ticket is solved, but also we'll look at the metrics like engagement survey results. So we need to find the balance between serving our employees and also serving our customers. So yeah, once you again create the environment where just people don't feel stressed, they feel like trusted, they feel that like they can, I don't know, ask any question or raise any concern or propose any idea, and that would be appreciated, then the magic happens.
Can you maybe share some examples of the initiatives that you work on to have this supportive, engaging atmosphere?
Again, I don't think that it's about the atmosphere, it's all about the practice. It's like in the very like, it's basically in your day-to-day. Like, how do you do one-on-ones? How do you run meetings? How do you collect feedback? For instance, we do at least biannually retrospectives with our teams. And so we make sure that we fetch all this insight from our agents to make sure that we implement this in our like forthcoming half of the year. The same goes with the engagement survey results. We really carefully walk through and make changes accordingly. But again, to me, it's not about some specific, I don't know, rituals or some like atmosphere. Like obviously when people get together, like for instance this week, people from Armenia, they go together on the offside. They're having a blast. Like they're having some fun. They love to spend time with each other. So it's all good, but this is not something that makes the whole thing. It's all about, again, how you're treated as an employee, whether you have a voice or not. And this is especially unfortunately rare in the support teams. In my opinion, again, it's not about like fancy perks or anything of this nature. It's more like, I don't know, cherry on the cake. But the biggest, like the meaty part about making everybody happy is just hearing the people and making sure that you can find the balance between the business needs and the employee needs.
continuing the remote model that your team operates in, how do you onboard newcomers? Also because onboarding might be a little bit challenging when on a remote mode. So how do you approach this?
First of all, we do have very structured plan that, and we leverage like different tools like Miro, Notion to come together, so everybody has some clarity around that. Usually, within the first 2 weeks, people already start solving the tickets. Obviously, we're not throwing them like without any support. We do have the onboarding buddies, so these people work as like mentors and coaches throughout this 3-month period. And yeah, we usually just start from the basics and then go deeper into the details, because Manychat is a very complex product, very diverse product, and I can tell you it's quite challenging to be successful in solving the issues there, because like you really need to exercise your brain to make it work. And like I've been solving the tickets lately myself, and I can tell you that like I can understand why some people are struggling, because you have so many possibilities covered under the hood. And like imagine you are just a new creator and you're like, where should I start? And you can be overwhelmed. So our agents can be also overwhelmed with this. So we need to really support them and guide them through. But usually these kind of like overwhelming periods stops probably somewhere like after the first, second month. People really feel comfortable with us. And usually the third month is the month where you sort of like try to do more autonomous work. We obviously do the hand-holding processes in place, but usually by the third month, we already have somebody who is ready to work autonomously. But again, like given the complexity of the product, even if the probation period officially has ended, still like I would say that the learning curve for the majority of the employees is like the first 6 months. And again, to echo the growth of the team that we discussed before that, this is just because of the complexity of the product. And it's sort of like the pros and cons of being in support and Manychat. Because on the one hand, it's very hard to like automate or work through the AI all of these use cases, because our product is like a Lego constructor. Like it's not about what is available up there. It's all about like, hey, how exactly I want to do there. Because like imagine sometimes we can have the situations where we have a ticket from a customer and he's asking like, hey, can you please check my automation? Like why it's not working? And you open it up and you see the connection of 100 nodes and you're like, what the heck you are trying to do here? And we can sometimes act more as like technical advisors and saying like, hey, we can cut it by thirds and make it more like elegant, more simple, but you will still achieve the same goal, because like it shouldn't be that like complex, right? So on the one hand, it's challenging to scale it with the AI compared to like more simple products. But on the other hand, for the support employees, it's a rewarding experience, because like you are not going to have this like Groundhog Day where like every day is the same. So you always need to think, and especially with the fast pace of development of our product, I feel like people who really love to do the brain work, to challenge themselves, they would thrive here.
I see. And speaking of the further like development within the team, do you have any like career growth paths?
We do.
Can I tell at that?
Basically, we do have, first of all, internal grades. So we have very specific descriptions of like, let's say, what the first level looks like versus the fourth or the fifth. Again, people can grow there, and we even agreed with the executive team that we're not limited in terms of our 1-year cycles in terms of the salary adjustments. If people can go even faster, then we're happy to provide this opportunity. But apart from that, we also have the team of subject matter experts, and those are sort of like in the middle between the agents, the operations, and also within the product. Basically, those are the most knowledgeable experts in the areas like Instagram, WhatsApp, and so forth. And we also have technical support, we have leadership roles, we have operations, and we might have even more sub-functions in the future. So yeah, basically like anybody can grow into any role that they would like to pick. The only caveat here is that throughout this process, we would really challenge you in terms of like, hey, are you really sure that this is the role? Like, what would be your justification that, let's say, you need to become a team lead or like go into the technical support? So we are sort of like having, again, the same kind of like high bar principle as we do for the external hiring.
Let's talk about collaboration with other teams. Can you share how the customer experience team collaborates with other functions, product, engineering, and...
Yeah. So I think we need to split it to like different areas. So for instance, we do have like very well developed regular processes, like for instance, when we do have incidents, bugs, or like product imperfections, anything of this nature. This is something that is like working very smoothly, and I think it started to work smoothly even before I joined the company. This is one. Then we're also quite closely collaborating with other leaders in terms of like the OKRs. We're trying to make sure that we inform each other in terms of our initiatives beforehand. But I still see the opportunity for us to improve our more like strategic alignment. But this is actually something that I'm working on right now.
Speaking of the values, of Manychat values, which one do you think is kind of like the biggest one from your standpoint, from the customer experience organization?
Win together, 100%. I mean, like what I've seen here is that despite the potential, I don't know, different views or different priorities or anything of this nature, I just see that people are always happy to help. They at least are considering your point of view. They're like trying to figure out maybe like some workaround or anything of this nature. So I would love to keep this value as long as possible, given that we're growing rapidly. And I think keeping these values alive and putting this in practice on a larger scale, this is the second biggest challenge apart from just conquering the market and developing the new version of the product.
One question about the team and the processes within that I forgot to ask you about. Do you have any stories to share of the like down to top improvements when someone from your team suggested processes improvements or somehow like suggested initiatives that were implemented in the end and resulted positively?
I mean, like we can take hours in terms of like going through these improvements, and I would say that getting back to our initial conversation in terms of like the preserving the culture, this is exactly one of the tools that we have in our toolbox. We just basically we do have regular retros, as I mentioned earlier. We do have few Slack channels where people can add their suggestions. We do have our regular meetings where people also can ask questions, challenge the leadership, and everybody's happy to, to cover those concerns or like those ideas. And again, I have so many examples like running through my head these days. So, I mean, like the KPIs that we just recently rolled out, the new version, were really informed by the feedback. The compensation model that I've built earlier this year was also navigated through the feedback from the team. the previous compensation model also was done based on the feedback. So to me, it's like really hard to pick just one thing because it's such a natural thing for us. It's kind of like it's a daily ritual for us just to share the feedback and act accordingly.
Can you describe your leadership style in maybe 3 words?
I would say empathy, strong operations, and also finding the compromise. So if you want, we can unpack those.
Yes, let's elaborate on that.
Okay, empathy, I would say that this was something that sort of like got my career going in general, because it was really for me like easy to walk in the shoes of other people. For instance, this is how I initially progressed on my first workplace, because it was kind of like natural for me to really feel the pain point and like basically be very fluid in terms of like, hey, how can I work with every customer that they feel some care and assistance. And then when I became a people manager, it sort of like did the same trick, because as I mentioned earlier, my philosophy is happy support means happy customers. And then once you get this connection, when you get this trust, you get like regular feedback loop in terms of like, hey, what is working, what is not working. And basically I'm always trying to coach my team like, hey, I'm not here to dictate, I'm here to co-create with you. As for the strong operations, this probably was my biggest learning from my past company that was also going through the hypergrowth. And like I've learned the value of operations in a very hard way. And to me, strong operations meaning that you can really zoom in and zoom out to like any side of your organization to understand like every particle of the matter. Just to give you an example, my last manager in my previous company sometimes was battling with the analyst in terms of how some metric is calculated. But at the same time, he was able to build on top of this metric the strategy for 3 years out. So this is an example of like strong operations. That means that you also need to have some data analytics, you have some processes, you have some structures, and you can really be proficient in terms of like all the areas of your expertise. And in terms of finding the compromise, I would say that previously I was really too hard on my opinions. And again, I've learned the hard way that there are so many different ways of achieving the same goal, achieving the same results. And there is no right or wrong. There are pros and cons of each. And I just have learned that it's always about like finding this middle ground again, so we can win together.
I see. And is your leadership style here in Manychat differs in a way from your previous experiences?
Yes. I would say that probably, I don't know, like 7 years ago or so, I was more like with high ego. Back then I was like, hey, I'm already working like 10 years in support, like what can you do? And
I know everything.
yeah, exactly. And I was so ignorant to learning from others and to be ahead of things. And this is exactly was the point when I deprioritized a lot of things, and they eventually bite me in the ass. So I needed to do them ASAP to make sure that we go through the hurdles efficiently. So definitely this. Also, I'm no longer married with my ideas. Again, I think I was too idealistic back in the day. But these days, I think I'm a bit more practical. For instance, in my previous company, I was looking to achieve 99% CSAT. These days, I would be okay with like 95 is also a good one. So it's all about these trade-offs. And yeah, and also the last one that is kind of like in the same mood for not being married with the ideas is picking the right battles to fight. Again, it's all about finding this compromise. Sometimes you can be like, okay, this is not something that is going to be I don't know, going against your values or breaking in something in your function. And like, okay, you just figure out, and maybe you can learn something completely new throughout the process, because it's going to be something fresh. So yeah, I would say in general, when I joined Manychat, I was more mature, I would say. Just, I don't know, being more modest, more humble, and just, you know, happy to learn from everybody. And this is quite a drastic difference compared to my leadership style back in the day.
And what do you think of like mentorship? Do you ever have a mentor, and how do you think it's important and helpful on the growing way?
Sure. I wish I had it earlier than I did. I think the first time I had a mentor was back in 2020, exactly when I was going through this like hypergrowth journey, scaling journey, and I was just like empty of the ideas and I was overwhelmed. And by the way, I'm just about to start working with her again. I also have a few advisors these days. They both are like completely different people. And this is also something that sort of like interesting to have. And on top of it, I also talk a lot to other leaders in the industry. And sort of my rule of thumb is that if you're struggling with something and you have some challenge, ask the same exact question to 10 people. If 7 would say kind of like the same thing, then probably it would either work for you or it would be a good starting point to explore. So yeah, and I also mentor on my own. I started doing this back in 2019, and Manychat was my second client. And since then, I also had a chance to work with different companies, big and small. I think the biggest company so far, I had probably 2. One is probably 1,500 employees, and they're already public. Another is like a Series C unicorn, and they were 900 employees back in the day. And I had a very interesting opportunity with one client, and they had 1,500 employees only in support. And I was like, hey guys, are you sure that I'm the right person? I didn't even work in such companies, you know, like in companies of this kind of size, not even talking about the support size. But the most interesting thing for me was like, they were, okay, just let's have a deep dive. We will share with you like the concerns, the challenges and so forth, and we will see how it goes. It didn't work out, but eventually what was interesting is that the challenges were almost exactly the same as ours, but the scale was different. It was more about like the size, when you're talking not about like 600 tickets, but rather like 60K tickets, right? But all the same problems about like people, processes, KPIs, I don't know, technologies and so forth. So yeah, it's definitely also a very good way for me to just learn from others, because on the one hand you help somebody else just to scale, but you also learn from completely different industries. So yeah, definitely recommend to anybody, but also you should look for somebody with whom you would have this kind of like chemistry. And like the way how I did this, I was just interviewing my advisors. I was like really going through their experience, understanding their mindset, and I also like to complement my weaknesses. So like, for instance, I believe that I'm quite good in terms of like people management. I'm not going to hire somebody who is good in that as well. But I was surrounding myself with people who would be strong in operations, strong in data, strong in business acumen, so I can also sort of like expand myself into these areas.
You mentioned like the importance of networking, where you can reach out to anyone asking for like if you have the same challenge and everything. How do you keep this network? Like how do you extend that? Do you go to conferences, or is it like LinkedIn or?
I would say that it's combination of all of those. So I have quite a vast LinkedIn network, and I just was sort of like, I already built my self-brand in the industry, because I also was participating in lots of like podcasts and I don't know, ebooks and this kind of stuff. So my name is sort of like going through the circles. Also, definitely the conferences. Again, like just seeking for any opportunity to that. But obviously, you also need to have very specific problem to solve. So basically, like networking for the sense of networking, I'm not sure if that's efficient. Like you can definitely networking for just building the relationship, and this is completely different thing, right? But I've seen the potential clients on my end who were coming to me, but they didn't know what they want to solve. And like I was like, how can I help? you know so I have quite interesting dynamics, let's say, with my network or my advisors, when I really have something that is itching, where I'm like, okay, I want to hear any other opinion, or I want to validate my ideas. Then will be the moment when I will be like investing my time and effort in that, and all of the rest would be more like reactive. For instance, like last week, I had a friend of mine, and she was like, "Hey, let's have a dinner together," and it was more like myself sharing the ideas, let's say, on like how to build the headcount model, or like how to go through specific challenges and so forth. And again, I just like I believe it's sort of like the concept of giving and taking an energy. So I believe that if I invested my time and helped somebody, even like without any fee, somehow at some point this energy will come back and benefit me. Maybe I don't know, somebody else will also be very kind to share their wealth of experience with me.
Continuing the thought of like learning from others, even when you're kind of like mentoring and advising them, anything interesting that you learned from your reportees here at Manychat?
Yeah. So definitely the product itself, but I think that's like the most easy and the obvious one. The least obvious, I would say that I mentioned that I was thinking that I'm really good in hiring, and I still do believe that. But we were hiring a lot with Marina, our head of Scale CX, earlier this year, and I was quite surprised that I've learned a ton from her in terms of like how she's approaching the hiring process. So I hope I also was beneficial in the process for her to learn from. But I was like, okay, this was quite an interesting way of running the conversation. Completely different from what I've been doing before. So this was again like confirming my previous hypothesis that you can, like, despite all the wealth of experience that you have, you can still learn every day.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Over these years that you've been working at Manychat, what are your most like significant achievements that you're proud of?
The first one is the CSAT. When I joined the company, it was 81%. The highest we got was 92.4, and this was a really hard job. It took like lots of iterations. And the second of all is just like the team that we've built, and like I would say the way how we approached this growth, because I think again, comparing what I've seen back in May 2023 and nowadays is like completely two different worlds. So I'm really happy with all the people we hired, with all the processes we've built, and just, I don't know, the overall work ethic that I see on our team is just outstanding. I'm really proud of the team.
I think we can switch to like the final section of our interview is to talk a little bit about you, not as the leader of the customer experience organization, but as the person with hobbies, interests, and what helps you like recharge over the weekends or maybe vacations. What so nature, swimming.
I would say that I would name a couple of tools. The first thing is that I'm not forcing myself to work if I don't feel the resource for this. Obviously, like sometimes you need to do that, but let's say if I do have several no meetings days, and let's say if I already was working throughout the day, and 3 p.m. I just don't feel like my brain is working, okay, I'm just closing the laptop and I will do something over the weekend. That's completely fine to me. I would rather spread this workload across different days rather than trying to like stick to the schedule.
And be productive in the end. Yeah.
Exactly. I would definitely feel more productive like next morning when I'm recharged, when I'm having my tea. And so this is one thing. The second thing is the thing that I called objective processes. This was echoing some fun conversation that I had with Dima, with our chief operating officer back in the day. I remember we had this convo and he said like, when we closed up the conversation, he was like, probably you will go for a walk with your dog right now and think about this. And I was like, no, am I crazy like to think about work outside of work? And the way how I built this habit is actually when you're out on the streets, I'm trying to absorb the physical objects. And so if I, let's say, have something going on my mind, some thoughts pop up, I specifically try to like get it away and continue physically like soaking up those like physical objects. And especially if you're like myself living close by to the ocean, it's very easy to do because like you're going to the beach and you have like a really vast space, you have a lot of like colors and it's very good to absorb, especially if you like go to the cold water, like all the senses there, like you're really present. So the final goal of this is being present. I would say my workouts help a lot, and this is exactly the thing for me to set my day. And I really like, I thrive when I move my body, and like I'm trying to do this as much as possible. Even when I go to Barcelona, I choose the hotels with, even if it's like awful, but still the gym, you know. What else? In general, I would say that I don't need to have that much rest when I'm in the rhythm. Like if I'm really dialed up, if my sleep schedule is on point, if my nutrition is on point, if my workouts are on point, then like I would say that sometimes I don't even need to have a break, maybe like 1 day a week, something of this nature. And again, like if we're talking about more like longer term, then I would say definitely surf vacations. It's like you're just going somewhere like in 2 weeks and you're just paddling, you're like fighting with the ocean. And like if you continue to think about work, you're done. Like it's not possible. So yeah, I would name those things to mention. And again, I'm not religious about that. Like I'm not like crazy fanatic on something, because just recently, for example, because I had an intense schedule a couple of days ago, I didn't eat for like 7 hours. So I had some like really like late lunch, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to Honest Greens to have some desserts. And so I just annihilated like half of their shelf. And I was like, okay, now I have my dopamine. I'm not going to do this like every day, but still like, you know, like understanding what works for you and like being really dialed into your body and understanding what works for you. I think that's the key, because obviously it's going to be different for different people.
I see. So it's kind of like if you don't let yourself just go completely exhausted, you don't need like an extra breaks and everything, because you keep the things balanced. Yeah. So you mentioned surfing.
Yes.
How long have you been exercising that? What do you like about surfing?
Well, my first attempt was back in 2011 on Bali, but this wasn't successful because I didn't have any theory. I didn't have any like very good like surf camp experience. Then my next attempt was back in 2015 in France, and this time it was already more like with the theory, with understanding how the ocean works and so forth. I think back in 2017, this was the time when to spend all my vacations only surfing. So I got to like multiple times on places like Bali, Sri Lanka, Morocco, Spain, France, Portugal, Kamchatka, even Zanzibar. Like I found the waves in Zanzibar. This was like quite an unexpected turn. And so, and when I moved to Portugal, when this became sort of like close proximity, I became a bit more easy on that. Like these days, I don't surf as much as in the beginning. But still, like if you ask me what is the most beautiful physical activity in the world, I would say surfing. Because on the one hand, it's like, I don't know, the playground for adults. Because you are not thinking about like, okay, like for instance, I love going to the gym, but when you surf, you don't think about like how many strokes I need to do to catch the wave. You're just catching the wave. You're out there. You're in the nature. Sometimes you see like some fish, some creatures there, and it's always surrounded with the people. And it's hard to explain what do you feel when you really glide on the wave. This like when you have this feeling when your board is on the wall of the wave, but like once you have it, you just like time that just doesn't exist in this time at this like during the process. You are just in the moment. It's I don't know how to explain it. You just need to try it.
That's great to have that kind of passion in your life. What is similar between surfing and working at Manychat?
Yeah, good question. I would say that you definitely can see the waves in corporate environment as well, especially with like seasonality factors. Like you definitely have a bit low downs in terms of like summer seasons or closer to like December, January. Another thing is that both would require high endurance. You really need to like be able to run it for the long time. Obviously resilience, again, both require like a lot of strength to endure a lot of stress for a long time. I would say courage to take your chance. Sometimes you just need to, I don't know, speak up, don't be afraid, propose the idea, even if you feel like, I don't know, you're just the only one in the room. Yeah. And it's probably the same kind of like reward that you can feel, because like after a surf session you feel exhausted, but you feel so content, you feel so happy, especially like if you had a chance to ride some waves and so forth. And I would say that probably like everybody would share the same feeling when you say accomplish a certain goal or a certain project. You feel that you invested a lot of time and effort, and now you're like, okay, I can relax, and the next day, okay, let's go for the next wave.
I see. Wow, that's a good comparison. What makes you feel happy and accomplished by the end of the day?
Ooh, I wasn't prepared to this question.
I know. I'm improvising. Sorry for that.
No worries. I think the sense of producing something. And what I mean by that is that, like, if we go a bit further on this topic, I believe that people really live when they are producing something for others. Like whether it's going to be really like digital products, this kind of product, I don't know, any kind of like mental work, relationship, whatever else, then you feel content. You feel that you are busy, you feel that you have some goals, you have some purpose. Then your life makes sense. Because like if you take a look at like older generation that stops working and they go to like retirement, if they don't have any goals, they're just sitting all day long in the home, and like quite often they will just pass away really quickly because they no longer have any purpose. So to me, just because I understand why why did I join Manychat? Why do I do certain things? Why do I live in Portugal? Why do I do customer experience specifically? Why do I, let's say, work out or like do specific preferences like in food or anything of this nature? I rarely do things randomly. Like everything has its purpose, and by the end of the day, if I feel like I'm moving closer to my goals, then I think that's the satisfaction process.
That's a great one. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. And I think we're done.
Cool. Thank you for having me.
High five. Yay!
Cheers.
Cheers. So let's do it again.